Hi there guys, I'm Nikhil from Grady Tech, and in this video, I'll be unboxing this Motorola One Macro, which is the latest phone from Motorola. Now this phone is available in Flipkart only in one variant with 4GB of RAM and 64GB of storage at just 10,000 rupees. It's also available only in one color, space blue, and that's the one we have. Now this is how the box looks on the front. On the right side we have some of the highlighting features, which are mainly that laser assisted autofocus, a new macro mode at just 10,000 rupees, that's pretty cool. Next, this phone also has a MediaTek Helio P70 processor with a large 4000 mAh battery. Finally, on the backside we have a quick preview of how the phone looks with that quad sensor setup. It's just 3 cameras with laser assisted focus. Now let's open it up. By the way guys, this is a review unit, so it's already been opened. I've just reset it and pre-packed it. Now this is how it looks inside the box. This sticker is usually placed on the phone, but someone removed it and placed it over here. Anyway, once again it says about some of the highlights which I've just talked about. Now here we have the phone in the space blue color. I'll just come back to it in a second. Next we have a cardboard partition followed by some documentation. Next we have a power adapter. This is a regular 10 watts power adapter, but Moto calls it rapid charger. Next we have the USB Type-C charging cable, and these are all the contents of the box. So guys, this is the phone and it comes with a free soft silicone case pre-applied. This is a soft silicone pouch, so it can give you some extra grip and protect your phone from smudges, but that's it. Not too much in terms of drop protection. On the front there is a tiny bit of raised lip, it's almost negligible. And on the back, it is a sufficiently raised lip for the camera module. So even when we place our phone directly on its back, camera module is very well protected. Even with the case on, buttons are nice and clickable. So overall, this soft silicone case is pretty good and pretty usable, but I would recommend you to get a better one as soon as possible. So this is how the phone looks without any case or stickers whatsoever. Now let's have a quick physical overview. On the back, this phone has a plastic back panel with a nice 3D curve to it. It has a two-tone finish, that's the space blue. At the top it is completely black, and at the bottom it is a slight tint of blue. It does look pretty cool. Now the back is super glossy, it's almost like a mirror, and it also attracts a lot of fingerprints and smudges. Now at the top it is a primary camera followed by a camera setup with 2 cameras and laser assisted focus followed by single LED flash. Beside that we have a circular fingerprint scanner with Motorola branding. At the bottom it says Motorola One, which is vaguely visible. Now on the front we get that massive display with a dewdrop notch. Inside the notch we have the front facing camera, and above that we have the earpiece. Below the display it's completely plain. Now for the sides, on the right side it has the power and volume buttons made of plastic. They have a nice clicky feel to them and they are sufficiently elevated. I wish they were slightly more clickable as well. At the top it is a secondary microphone for noise cancellation and 3.5mm audio jack. On the left side it has a SIM card tray housing a nano SIM slot along with a hybrid SD card slot. So you can either use 2 nano SIMs on this phone or a nano SIM and an SD card, not all 3 at once. Finally at the bottom we have the primary microphone followed by the USB Type-C charging port and the mono speaker. Now this phone has a thickness of 8.99mm and weighs 186 grams. It also has a water repellent design with IPX2 certification. Now for initial impressions, phone definitely does look thick. It feels like it has a bit of weight to it, but doesn't feel all that heavy. Now these are the complete specifications. On the rear, this phone has a triple camera setup with a 13MP primary camera with f2.0 aperture and laser autofocus. That's followed by a 2MP depth sensor for taking portrait shots and a 2MP dedicated macro lens. For selfies, it is an 8MP camera with f2.2 aperture. On the front, it is a 6.2-inch Max Vision display with HD Plus resolution with 19:9 aspect ratio. It is powered by a MediaTek Helio P70 processor with Mali G72 MP3 GPU with 4GB of DDR4 RAM and 64GB of storage. It will be running Android 9.0 right out of the box. Finally, powering this device is a 4000 mAh battery. So guys, those were the specifications. Now let me turn on the phone and set it up and come back to you in a second. So guys, this is how the phone looks once we turn it on and set it up. This is our default launcher, and just like the Pixel launcher, we can just swipe up for the app drawer. Now these are all the apps that come pre-installed and there's absolutely no bloatware. Now just like with other Moto phones, we still have FM radio, and you also get the Motorola app for all the cool Motorola features. I'll talk more about them in just a second. For now, let's check out the storage information. So out of that 64GB of space, we get about 50.7 gigabytes of space for our user apps and user data. Now let's check out the about page. Now this is the about page. This phone is running Android version 9 and right out of the box it has a September security patch, which is pretty good. Now let's check out the camera interface. This is the camera interface for the rear camera. This is the shutter button over here and capturing speed seems pretty decent. And over here we also have a button for Google Lens where we can simply search for anything with just your camera. Now at the top we have some extra toggles. First one is for Auto HDR and this phone does support Auto HDR. Next we have a toggle for the flash followed by the timer. Next we have active photo, which is probably live photo from Moto. Next we have auto and manual mode and this is an interface for the manual mode, and over here we have extra controls. And finally we have settings. Now if we go to the right side we have video recording mode, and this phone also has electronic image stabilization. You can enable it or disable it from here. Now if we go to the left side we have some extra modes. First we have the portrait mode, that's background blur effect. That's where the secondary 2 megapixel camera comes into play. Next we have cutout, which is the same as portrait mode where we can change the background. Next we have macro where the third camera comes into play. Now using this macro mode we can take close-up shots up to as close as 2 centimeters. I'll show you some sample shots later. Next we have spot color where we can just pick a color and then make other colors look black and white. Next we have cinematograph, panorama and live filter, which we have seen on other previous Moto phones. Now this is the interface for the front camera. Initial impressions, it looks pretty decent. It's not outstanding but it's still pretty good. Now over here once again on the left side we have the portrait mode, that's portrait selfie. And it seems like even for the front camera we have some cool features like spot color, where only the subject is in color and the rest of the things are in black and white. So that's a pretty cool and weird effect. So I'll just try it out later. Next we have cinematograph and group selfie. Now the group selfie is a pretty famous feature. We have seen it on other phones as well, where we can take a wider selfie. It's just like panorama for selfies. Next we have live filters, and these are all the filters that we have. So guys, that's the camera interface, and now these are some sample pictures. With this phone, Motorola is very focused in the camera department. They brought in features like laser assisted focus for the primary camera and even a new macro mode. Now this is something Motorola has never done. It just says how eager Motorola is to be the best. Anyway, let me know how these sample shots look like. Now let's test the speaker loudness. So guys, that's the speaker loudness. It is loud, it is clear, it's great for media consumption, ringtones and alarms. Now let's test the fingerprint scanner. I already set it up, so here we go. Fingerprint scanner seems to be fast, but not super fast. Fingerprint scanner itself is fast, like it reads the fingerprint in a split second, but phone takes like half a second to just unlock the phone, which is kinda annoying. Anyway, every time I use the fingerprint scanner, phone gives out a nice haptic feedback, which I really miss on other phones. And even the haptic engine or the haptic motor on this phone is pretty good. It's not great, but it's definitely way better than most phones in this price segment. So that's a big thumbs up. Now let's test the face unlock feature. As usual, I already set it up. And even the face unlock is pretty fast. So once again, it's not as fast as the Oppo and Vivo phones, but still pretty fast and usable. Probably faster than the fingerprint scanner. And once again, every time it unlocks, it gives a nice haptic feedback. Now let's test it in low lighting conditions. And even in low lighting conditions, it works and it is pretty fast. Now let's test it in complete darkness. There are no lights in the room. And in complete darkness, it does struggle. Let me just bring my face a bit closer. It still doesn't work. No, it's not working at all. So guys, that was Face Unlock. In good lighting conditions and even in low lighting conditions, it works and it is pretty fast. But in complete darkness, it's not working at all. Now let's look at some of the highlights in this Motorola application. So first we have the Motorola display, which as you might have already seen, whenever you lock your phone, you get to see the screen. This is the Moto display, and these are your notifications, and you can interact them directly from the lock screen. Now this is not an AMOLED display, so it's gonna affect your battery life, so you have to look out for that. Next we have something pretty cool called one key navigation. You can access it from Moto Actions and just enable one button navigation. Once you do that, navigation bar is replaced with just a single button. Now to go home, just click this button once and you're in the home. For recent apps, swipe this button up and these are your recent applications. Now to go back a step, you can swipe to the left side. Now to quickly switch between your current application and the previous application, that's YouTube, you can just swipe this button to the right side. And there you go. We can just keep doing it again and again to switch between the current application and the previous application. Now for Google Assistant, you can just press and hold. And that's Google Assistant. So that's one key navigation, and that's definitely a pretty cool feature and a pretty unique implementation that's only on the Motorola phone. Next we have fast flashlight, which is also one of my favorite features, where I can just do this gesture to turn on the flash. I can do it again to turn it off. Now we also have fast camera, probably that's what it's called on this phone, where you can twist the phone once to open the camera application. Now once you're in the camera application, we can do it again to switch to the front camera. We can do it again to switch to the rear camera. So these are some of the famous Moto actions and we still have them. And they do work really well. I'll talk more about them in the tips and tricks video, so stay tuned for that. Now before I conclude, these are the Antutu and Geekbench scores. So guys, this is the Motorola One Macro. At a price tag of 10,000 rupees, this is definitely not the best phone or the most feature-rich phone out there. But if you're looking for a phone with pure stock Android from Motorola brand, with decent cameras and those famous Moto actions, then yes, you can definitely consider this phone. So guys, what do you think about this phone? Do let me know by commenting below this video, and if you're planning to buy this phone, use the link in the description. It always helps the channel. If you want us to make any specific video, tweet out to us with the hashtag AskGreedyTech on Twitter and we will try to make it as soon as possible. I'm Nikhil from GreedyTech signing off. Have a nice day.